You're now listening to the Stronger Inside podcast, where we break down all things regarding health, fitness, and wellness to help you improve your mind, body, and environment. And now, your host, Wayne, a.k.a. Workout with Wayne, and Ernest, a.k.a. Mr. 100 Pounds Down.
Welcome back to Stronger Inside Podcast, episode number 5.
Five out here.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. How you?
Good. I'm doing good. I think last podcast was a good one. I enjoyed it, and I believe this one will kind of piggyback off of that to where we can push forth. So, what's today's topic, Ernest?
Today we're going to talk about why consistency is the key to success.
I truly believe that. I really believe that without consistency, you're just not going to get the results that you want, especially long term. Really, what is consistency? It's really if you behave in the same way, you have the same attitudes, and you achieve the same level of success. You're just doing something over and over and over. And unfortunately, you can be consistently bad. You don't have to be inconsistent to be bad. You could just be consistently bad. So really it's about looking at your habits and the way you do things. I do believe consistency in a positive way is a result of discipline. And really it could either be self-discipline that just comes from within, or you got it from leadership. And good leadership, quality, great leadership creates cultural discipline, what I would say. So, we can look at what's consistent, but I would like to look at discipline a little bit more, because you can't be consistent without having some type of discipline.
Right. Absolutely.
Some real life examples of discipline. I mean, to even, I guess, look out of our modern times would be religion. It doesn't matter what your religion is. There are things that you are asked to do. You're not really asked, you're told to do, and you believe them and you do them, whether it be the amount of times a day you pray, the way that you eat, the way that you run your family, whatever it may be. There's different religions and there's different things. And when you have, that is a discipline within itself, if that makes sense, because you are respecting the rules and the regulations, and then you are applying yourself to those things that I cannot deviate. So if you have the ability to go through Ramadan or something like that, that's a sense of discipline. Are there any other religious examples?
Saying grace before your meal, right? So bow your head before your meal. There's some women that you take out on a date. If you don't bless your food before you eat, that's gonna be your last date, right? That's non-negotiable. So you drop your head, you say your grace before you eat your meal. That's definitely something
that's a discipline.
That's a discipline, right?
Yeah.
Communion. So at my church, it's the first Sunday of every month. Some churches, they do it a different time every month, but having that time to commune with God, to thank God for his sacrifices, to thank Jesus for his sacrifices, and to remember those sacrifices where you break bread and you have wine. Those are disciplines that are ingrained in.
So you don't deviate from what you eat. You don't do a cookie sometimes. You don't do milk sometimes, right?
Right. Yeah. You don't break an Oreo and some skim milk. No.
So, but I'm not being serious with that, but if you can have that mentality of, I'm going to say grace before I eat, every time I eat. If I'm going to every first Sunday do these things, that's a form of discipline, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you can do that, you can apply that to other aspects in your life. It's just you choose not to. So yeah, those are good points. I do see that is a place of a lot of discipline, whether it doesn't matter what your religion may be. There's different ways of doing things, but they're not negotiable. So those are good examples. You have to be disciplined. There's people who are undisciplined and they join the military just for that,
Right.
And then, you can tell somebody who has had military training or, somebody that is a Marine or that you would say, and they stand out. There's no difference because, and part of that is discipline,
Right.
So
you can spot an officer a mile away.
Yeah. And that comes from within. That means that they don't turn it off.
Right.
Which would be take us back to consistency.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just choose to be great sometimes, and then other times you don't. It's about being consistent, and that starts with discipline. You just look at different cultures, and you just say, man, I think as Americans, we have so many opportunities and so many blended ways of doing things that we don't necessarily always look at things that way. And when we see discipline, we get confused a little bit, or we get turned off, or we even get intimidated, because a lot of people actually want discipline and they've never had it. And they crave it. And that's why they go seek these other things as adults. So really what I see a lot of times is, just kind of Americans, they just don't like discipline, structure, or even facts sometimes. Because, if you go back to our last episode, somebody's probably listening going, man, I'm not obese. I don't care what this chart says.
Right.
So really just it's all emotional and hypotheticals versus really looking at structure and discipline.
Right.
I just love the old karate movies and kickboxer and everything like that, and blood sport, because these guys had discipline. When you look at any martial arts movie, it doesn't even matter if it's Karate Kid. That was actually the plot of Karate Kid, right?
Right.
You need discipline. I'm going to tell you to do this every day, and it's for your own good. And I don't really even need to tell you why until he needed it, right?
Right.
Exactly. And that is part of coaching, as a part of consistency. But really just having discipline is something that really matters. And there's a guy who has a podcast. He has a book. His name is Jocko Willink. He is a retired officer in the U.S. Navy. He's a Navy SEAL. He served on those teams. And he really brings a lot of that experience to whether it be fitness, business, self-improvement. And this somebody who's done things at a really high level, which require a lot of discipline. And his quote is, discipline equals freedom. What do you hear when you hear that quote? And I'll give my meaning after.
What I hear from that is, if you can stay regimented on a path and consistent on that path, especially when it comes to this health and wellness lifestyle, it opens up the door for you to do many more things in life, right? You're able to go places you're able to go places that you couldn't before, or do things that you couldn't before. I know specifically for me, I've always wanted to go ziplining.
Okay.
There's a weight requirement to go ziplining, right? And so I've never been one that was under that weight requirement. And so as I reach my goal and get closer and closer to my goal, those are things that I definitely want to do one day. Ziplining, or one of those indoor skydiving places. Those are things that at 400 your boy wasn't able to do.
Yeah.
I'm not jumping on a real plane, so that's not a thing. But in a controlled environment, that's definitely something that I want to do. So by me being disciplined in this avenue of my life, it's opening up so many other doors that I can go through as far as activities that I wanted to pursue. Shopping in different places. There's stores that don't cater to men of my size.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of restricted in where you can shop and what you can buy. And I want to be able to get stuff from anywhere.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
To where, you can just do more. You're not dealing with restricted access to certain things.
Correct.
Yeah. When I hear that, I think about kind of being an entrepreneur and being able to do anything you want, but if you take care of business and do the things that you're supposed to do, then like you said, it opens doors.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows for you to, what some people may perceive as have less structure. But when you have that structure and discipline, you are able to do more. You're able to go, do different things that you may like, but it's all a result of taking care of business.
Correct.
And I think that with discipline, it's a daily thing. It's this consistency we talked about. But when you have freedom per se, it is the ability to do as you want. Think about somebody who early retirement. They save their money. Now they're like, well, I'm just gonna go travel, or I'm gonna hang out and go to my beach house, because they saved in the winter and they saved their money, and now they have freedom per se.
Yes, sir.
But they couldn't get that without the discipline part. So really, if it's something as working out, if it's something as eating clean, if it's something as being a good student, meaning that you have opened doors for yourself to where you can go to any college or university, or you can be accepted to any program because you did the work as a student. If you were a marginal student, then there's not going to be as many doors open for you.
Right.
So really just if you can say, the reason I'm doing these things, the reason I have structure in my life, the reason that I am being disciplined is so that I can do whatever I want later on. And really, when you think about discipline, usually we think of it coming from outside, another source, right?
Right.
Whether it be a disciplinarian, another person, an authoritative figure. But if you can get that same voice to be your inner voice, your inner coach, that's when you can really achieve discipline. Because now it's your inner voice telling you, wake up. That's your voice telling you, don't stop running. That's your inner voice telling you, save money, or whatever it is, right? You're like your own coach. And that's what a positive inner voice is. So I really like that quote. It doesn't have to be extreme as you don't have to be a Navy SEAL, but if you apply that to your life, you're going to find, as you said, Ernest, that other doors are open and you're going to have some freedom because you are taking care of business. And what happens is, keep in mind, once you start getting that freedom, you can't lose what got you there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't lose the discipline. And that's the scary part, where you start getting a lot of success, or you start seeing something. And then what happens is those fundamentals are those principles that you built your house on. If you stop them, then what happens? You lose you lose the freedom. Some doors start closing.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
I really like that quote. He does a lot of motivational speaking, and different businesses hire him to do those things. And it's just a great quote and a great phrase that I feel like people should be able to implement into their lives. We both love sports. Some good examples of discipline in sports. If anybody follows basketball, everybody loves Steph Curry right now, but there was a guy, Ray Allen, who was one of the best shooters ever. And every time he shot the ball, it looked the same, right? Yep. So one day he had a bad shooting night per se, right? And a guy in the media goes, "Hey, Ray, you had a bad shooting night. What happened?" And he goes, "I didn't have a bad shooting night. The ball didn't go in." And that just meant he said, I shoot so many shots, I shoot the ball, and sometimes it just doesn't go your way.
Right.
But I have no regrets, and I know that I did everything properly. So hell, the ball just didn't go in tonight. But I didn't have a bad shooting night, meaning that my elbow was flaring or I was, throwing the ball over the basket. He probably missed all his shots by half an inch.
Right.
And then the next night probably scored 40. So and then you would say he's consistent because you look at his percentages, right?
Right.
Exactly. So, I mean, you look at The Last Dance, everybody's watching. I know you've been watching. Did you ever see Michael Jordan hit the off button?
No, never off. Practice, he wasn't off. On the bus, he wasn't off. On the plane, he wasn't off. Scott Burrell, still.
In the casino, he wasn't off.
Listen.
On the golf course, he wasn't off.
Nah, he's not off. He's never off. Mike was Mike.
Yeah. And you don't have to be that way outside of your craft. But if you have a craft and you have a job or a profession, whatever it is, you need to be on all the time to establish consistency. And you can apply that to health and fitness as well. You just have to, and the funny part is, so somebody like Kobe comes around, right? And he takes that from Michael Jordan. And then they say, well, this guy's just so hard to be around. Because that was part of The Last Dance as well. Mm-hmm. There were teammates or even fans or other people in the organization that felt as though these guys were unlikable at times. But nobody would know these other people's names if it wasn't for these two guys, the Kobe and Michael Jordans. Yeah. So, yep. I mean, I think that takes us to another place where it's lonely. And you understand that sometimes you're actually hard to be around. And it becomes a lonely journey. And to some people who may not have the same level of passion for things or sometimes even the same level of intellect, it's intimidating.
Right. Yeah.
So now that person doesn't want to be around you. It could be a colleague, it could be a teammate, whatever. And really all you're trying to do is either be your best or make sure the team has success, And right. That's really where the consistency comes from. And then another place I would like to go is like coaching. So not even just the guys on the court. Bobby Knight, Indiana University, you could say that he was inconsistent in his behavior, but he actually wasn't. Because he was crazy in practice. He was throwing chairs in games. He was throwing them in practice.
Right.
You could say he was a lunatic, but he was a mentor, and he basically created Coach K at Duke University. Frank Martin, a guy who was at South Carolina, coach of basketball, he was an assistant under Bobby Knight for a long time. They went to the Final Four, maybe 3 years ago? Mm-hmm. Why is that? These guys had cultural discipline, and they've brought that from great leadership that they got, and now they've created cultures. Any other examples that you can think of, maybe in the sports world or somewhere else?
But when I think about it, I think about just kind of my job, my work, being consistent with showing up on time and being productive while you're there, and always being available to the people who need you as a part of the process to get the job done, is key to just achieving success at work. And then at home, in relationships, being consistent, being accountable, being there when you're needed for your wife or your son, or making sure when things are required of you, those things are being done so that people can believe in you and trust in you. That's what your body needs. Your body needs you to be consistent so your body can function for you.
Yeah, that's a good point.
One of the issues, one of the things that's in the back of people's mind is consistency and discipline. They kind of go hand in hand, but they take time. And we are in a fast-paced world, and we want everything kind of right now. And so it's hard when, in order to see results, you require discipline and consistency, right? But we want results now. And so that's what makes it kind of difficult to be consistent to the point where you start seeing those results.
Okay. Yeah, those are good points. It takes a while to get there. Yeah, you're just not born that way. And really to take it back to all those other examples that I used, whether it be sports, military, there is a level, an entry level, and you build your way up. They take you through the process, right? You don't just
Right.
come in and have a super high expectation, but people are a lot harder on you. And then as you elevate and really learn those things, and then really what that means is people trust you more, you're able to build that. So
Right.
what are some things that you do consistently now, Ernest?
I drink my water. It's water over sodas and juices and teas. There's a vegetable included in every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. When I eat, I make sure that I am incorporating a vegetable in that meal, at least one, sometimes multiple.
Good.
Now with the pandemic, I'm able to sleep better and longer. So I'm trying to be more consistent in getting my sleep and getting my rest in. And I work out consistently. I try to make sure that I follow my plan set forth by my trainer, workoutwithwayne.com. Look him up. And then and then I'm working out consistently. I'm pushing my wife to work out consistently. She's pushing me to work out consistently, and we're motivating each other. So those are some of the big things that are consistent in my. And then playing with my son. He wants to wrestle every day, so I do that consistently.
Yeah, the consistency. So some of the things that I apply to my workouts and my training methods, I always strength train, whether it be barbell, dumbbell. I'm always applying progressive overload periodization, meaning that I'm looking to get stronger. I'm using different rep ranges to make sure that I'm improving. I'm not just doing the same song and dance. I do hit high intensity interval training, meaning that I'm doing some type of sprints, box jumps, ropes, speed ladders. So I'm always doing those things, especially as it gets warmer. I like to be outside and doing those things. I'm not a huge fan of breakfast foods, really. I enjoy eggs and a bacon or something like that every now and then, but really just to get my day going. And if I, really got to get to the gym or something like that, I'm going to do a protein green smoothie with spinach and some berries and different things like that, flaxseed. I'm just going to throw that in there. And that's something that I'm pretty consistent with in the AM. As far as my other meals, stir fries, salads, lots of color. I really try to get 3, 4 just different things in there, whether it be carrots, bean sprouts, onions, 2 types of onions, whether it be scallions, tomatoes, did I say cucumbers? I use those a lot. I really try to just have a mix of those things on my plate. I feel a lot better when I'm doing that. I can feel the difference in my body. And then I would say I'm pretty consistent in my relationships with people. That's something that we've talked about maybe on that first episode. That's just kind of how I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know if I like you, if I don't. If I really like you, it.
Right.
Some people I can be, of course, cordial with and things like that. But it's going to be consistent. There's going to be a level of respect there, and I expect the same. So the consistency is there because we go back and to that first episode about the conversation we had that kind of sparked you getting going. That wasn't something that you didn't see coming from my personality, right? Like,
no, not at all. Yeah.
So you weren't taken off guard by saying, "Oh my God, my Wayne asked me to, work on my health." Like that's just something that I feel comfortable doing, whether it be with people in my family, close people, close friends, to where I feel like I can have that communication and it doesn't really change.
Right.
If we go into how to maintain it, because we all have things that we are actually working on, but the things that we either want to improve on or already have going, there's a couple ways to maintain that consistency. I have the app, and I know I share that with you and my other clients. That allows for tracking. If you're not tracking what you're doing and you're just leaving it to, I'll get to it, or I think I did that Thursday, I'll try this twice a week, but you have no data, you're not having a journal, you're not evaluating trends, then you're really not in a place for success. Because if you look at any business, anything that is worth anything. You know, if you're trying to have a result, if you're trying to improve, you need to have data. And if you don't consistently weigh yourself, if you don't consistently, and it doesn't have to be every day, and that depends, you know, the frequency depends on the person, but you need to have those things, whether it be measurements, whether it be tracking the weights that you've done. Because Ernest, we have data on how maybe something as easy as how your bench press has improved, right? And you can look at that and see how it's gone up. So that stuff justifies what you're doing and actually pushes you to want to do it more. And then also it allows you to really not fall off. If you say, I'm going to weigh myself every Friday, right, for 2 months, what's the possibility of you gaining 10 pounds of body fat, not muscle? But
yeah, probably pretty low.
Pretty low, because every Friday you're going to see that you're trending upward and you're going to make a change, right?
Yeah.
But if you choose not to and you do it once a month, unless your habits are so ingrained and you can do things intuitively, then yeah, that's fine. But a lot of people aren't at that place. So yeah, a huge fan of that. And go ahead.
No, yeah, the app is, I mean, amazing for me because it allows me, like you said, to see what I've been doing, and tells me that, you know, I've been progressively doing more and more weight with this type of exercise, and it feeds into me. All right, I'm getting stronger. Let's do more. Let's do more. Let's do more reps. Let's do more of this. Let's do more of that. And sometimes, like when you get up in the morning, because I do my exercises when I wake up.
Yeah.
So when I wake up and I'm ready to attack it, sometimes you're not always feeling like you're ready to go or whatever. And so you just like, all right, well, I'm just going to kind of do what the app says and just kind of get through it. And then you get to a point in the workout where the workout calls for you to do, you know, 25. And then you look at what you did last time and it's like, okay, well, last time I did 35. So you're like, huh, I can't do 25 today. I got to do what I did last time, you know, at least at a minimum what I did last time. I'm not going to go backwards. Right. So without knowledge of what I've previously been able to do, you would just kind of do what it says and not improve, even though you have done more before. And so the ability to push yourself, the ability to see a number and say, I feel good today, I can do more than that. I mean, that's kind of what it's all about.
Just really, you're seeing a personal best and you're saying, how can I at least at a minimum match that? And then at a later date or today, exceed it. And that's really what progress is all about.
Hey.
You know? So also stick to a plan. That's how you maintain consistency. If you're switching your plan, then that's not consistent. You know, if you're trying all these different things and you're, you know, what people call like a program jumper, and you just jump around and you're trying all these different things, and one day you're doing intermittent fasting, the next day you're doing juice cleanse, then you're doing yoga, then you're doing Zumba. It's like, try something out consistently for 6 weeks. Ride it out and you'll be okay. But if you choose not to and you're always jumping around, then there's no way you're going to maintain any type of consistency.
Right.
So really having a plan, and a lot of our plans that we've done, you know, it's either a minimum of 4 weeks or sometimes 6 weeks and things like that. And you ride it out and you go through there.
You be excited for the change though.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. You've established a base and you've actually mastered some of these things, because if you do something enough, then you're going to master it, right? If you have poor form in something, or you're really not sure how to do it, but then you end up having to do it 2-3 times a week for a month, you're going to get pretty good at it.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't like burpees whatsoever. Right. So we used to work out, and then you'll have like, you know, 2 sets of 10 burpees at the end of the workout, and like mountain climbers or something. But on the most recent workout we have, there's like 4 sets of 10 burpees in the middle of the workout. It's not at the end, it's like right in the middle of the workout. And so, and I saw that, I was like, this dude is wild, right? And so as I go through it on week 2 or week 3, you know, I'm knocking them out, and I'm like, now I'm killing them. I'm doing like 12 per set now.
Yeah.
I'm doing 12 of them, and I'm not feeling it like I was back when I was doing 2 at the end of the workout.
Yeah.
Now I'm killing 48 of them in a 4-minute span, as opposed to doing 20 that would take me about 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Your body is adjusted and you've progressed. And that's all because you can look at what you're doing. I would say another way to maintain it is this is tough and this is easier said than done, but kind of separating what's going on in life from your goals. Now, that's a hard thing to do, and that's a tough task, and everybody's not ready to do that. So I understand that. But at the end of the day, to really be your most fit self, you have to do that, because when somebody says, and I'll be honest, sometimes it's just straight up excuses. People give excuses for not doing what they need to do, right? And they'll say, oh, but I was stressed, or life is doing this, work is doing this, I didn't have time. But everybody has the same 24 hours. The most successful people in the world, the fittest people in the world, and I understand that's not everybody's goal to be that level, but to give zero effort, to not make an accommodation, that's not really, you can't be successful that way. So by understanding that I still have goals, I still have to do these things, and then understanding that, yeah, life is coming at me right now. Maybe this is a more turbulent time than 2 weeks ago, but then also taking yourself out of yourself, out of your own situation, and say, everybody has these situations. Everybody has these. Everybody has a job. Everybody has a family. Everybody has a relationship in some capacity with whatever it may be. And everybody has ups and downs. But every time you're down, you stop working towards your goals. That's not consistency.
No,
and you never get there. And then you're waiting on something to restart. You're waiting for that respark. And you really have to take a look at a separation and just say, hey man, I got fired today. I'm still going to the gym.
Right.
Or I got fired today. I feel bad, but I'm going to go tomorrow.
Right.
I'm going to take one day off. Not, I got fired and
nothing matters anymore.
It's all over.
It's all over. It's all over.
No,
you're absolutely right.
Because it doesn't help.
No, it makes it worse.
Yeah, it's a double down, because when you've established some type of consistency in your life, and then you stop doing those things, there's almost like a
domino effect.
Well, no, there's a guilt because you are now aware. Those stages of learning that we've talked about before, and we'll probably go over that on this show one day. But in terms of somebody being, they're aware of what they're doing. Like when somebody's completely unhealthy, completely inactive, and they just have never read anything about nutrition, they don't know what they're doing, right? They really don't know. But once you've been given the opportunity to learn, read, you've had training under your belt, and then you stop doing those right things, there's a little birdie on your shoulder. There's something in the back of your head going, hey man, you're wrong.
Right.
And then there's some guilt associated with that. So by continuing to do the things that you're supposed to do, you help yourself physically and you help yourself mentally and emotionally as well.
Oh yeah, no, you're right about that. I grocery shopped yesterday, little aside, and I'm coming through the frozen food section, and I saw this non-dairy Ben and Jerry's, and I was like, oh, non-dairy. And I was like, you don't need that. Let's go. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. You don't need that non-dairy double brownie fudge.
Oh man, it was calling you.
Yeah, man, it was talking to me. Keep it moving.
Oh man.
But you're absolutely right. When it comes to so when it comes to being consistent, like we struggled. There was a time when we struggled with work, right? So work was kind of getting in the way of us working out after work, because we would work and things would come up at our jobs, or we would have to work longer hours or whatever the case may be. And it would, by the time we got off, it would be so late to go then pick up our son and get home and, do our night routine and everything like that. So we can't work out tonight. We got to go get him. And feed him and get to bed and eat something ourselves and all sorts of stuff. So
Yeah.
then they became, okay, we need to be consistent at what we're doing in order to see results the way we want to see results. What can we do? And it was like, okay, we got to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. We got to get it in before work. If we want to be consistent with this thing, and work is causing us to have an issue right now
Yeah.
with working out after work, well, we got to wake up earlier so we can work out before work and continue to maintain our level of success at the gym, our
Yeah.
level of success with our jobs, and then have that family balance after work. And so
And just throw in the
for
towel.
yeah, can't just quit, right? So there was a moment where it was like it wasn't getting done, but that little birdie was saying, "Hey, don't stop now. We got to break through this." And so we had to come up with a new game plan. And so we were actually, waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning,
Wow.
getting out the house by like 3:45, dropping our son off by 4, getting up to gym at like 4:45, knocking a workout out, taking a shower, putting on your suit and tie, and hitting the metro to get to work. It was really all that was done before 7 o'clock in the morning. We did that for probably like a month or two until things started calming down a little bit at our job. So that way we can kind of transition back to doing the afternoons. Because afternoons this is a lot better when you can sleep a little bit longer in the mornings and things like that. But in order to maintain that level of consistency, in order to make sure our discipline wasn't lacking and slacking, we had to make that adjustment.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. Like you said, that's a huge sacrifice, but you allowed yourself to continue momentum, because the double whammy of stopping is when do you start again? And that's where people they've created kind of this barrier of, I have to, they're looking uphill again and saying, oh man, I gotta build all this up again. I gotta build up this a lot of times internal motivation just to either turn off some unhealthy behaviors that they had restarted and just get back in the game. And that's why you don't want to break what you've already started. So that was great that you guys are able to do that. And that's why you're in the place you are. It's very easy to just throw in the towel and say, you know what, I'll pick it up later. And it's always later.
I've quit before, I can do it again. God darn it.
It's always, I'll do it later. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. And I'll take us to another a phrase I use: good momentum. Kind of what we were saying. You had good momentum. Life threw a curveball at you, and you kept it going. So some other ways of doing that. Let's say life doesn't throw a crazy curveball at you, but sometimes, you know what, we kind of throw curveballs at ourselves. We're up there just making things harder than it needs to be. Think about this. There's a lot of people who are able to do everything they're supposed to do in terms of health and fitness to reach their goals Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday, whatever the combination is. But then Friday, Saturday comes, Sunday comes, and they have to weekend. I'm gonna use weekend as a verb. They have to weekend. And a lot of times there's nothing going on. There's probably people right now still weekending for no reason.
Right.
Like, I understand if it's a birthday party, it's a major sporting event, there's a celebration. That's awesome. And some people have more social lives than others, so they're able, they get pulled into these events a lot. And maybe that's something that they need to reevaluate. Stop trying to be there for everybody's party because it's preventing you from getting to your goals. But yeah, you don't have to weekend. And it's okay to have a Friday, Saturday, Sunday of doing pretty much the same things you did Monday through Friday, but you actually have more time because you're probably not at work or doing work. So you can still stretch, cook, do your workout, do whatever. And then you're going to be so ready for the next week that you can kill it again, because a lot of times that weekend throws you off for Monday and possibly even Tuesday. And then you're back, and every week you're restarting, you jump on, you jump off, you jump on, you jump off, on your program, off your program. And it's like, you don't have to do that.
Right.
You know, once a month is cool. You know, you had to go to a wedding, awesome, have a ball. But for you to just have this automatic reset of, I have to not do anything Friday, Saturday, that's either a learned behavior or maybe you need a new job. Like what you're doing is too stressful.
Right.
And you need to just vegetate for 2 days.
Yeah. No, yeah. Cheat weekends and cheat days and all those stuff like that is, I think, like you said, once a month is probably kind of where you want to keep it. Maybe twice a month is something you want to do, but you know, it's not something that you need to do. You know, like you said, you've been a cheat day or a cheat weekend can ruin a whole week. I mean, I've seen it firsthand. Trust and believe.
Seen it with your own eyes.
I've seen it with my own scale, my guy. So you can be consistent throughout the week, Monday through Friday. You know, you weigh in on Monday, and you're like, "Oh, I'm doing good." And you weigh in on that Friday, you was like, "Yo, I killed it this week." And you was like, "Yo, I'm gonna celebrate. I'm gonna reward myself for killing it this 1 week." You know, and then you weigh back in on Monday, and you're like, that whole week is gone. That whole week is gone. At least Tuesday through Friday is gone. You know, so it's like you kind of start all over. And so,
and you really don't. Now, I'll say this: if you're doing a good plan with strength training and the things we've talked about in previous episodes, you haven't lost any strength.
Mm-hmm.
The muscle that you've built, you haven't lost. So you haven't lost any of the skills that you've developed if you're working on a squat or a deadlift. That didn't restart on Monday. And a lot of people lose focus of that. They just look at the scale and they go, "Oh, well, I blew it." And then that pushes them to actually quit versus saying, "Let me get back to it and do everything that I've been doing and continue to build." Because that's what's important. It's about saying, okay, dealing with maybe what be perceived as a minor setback, and then having the wherewithal and the self-awareness to say, you know what, it's not that bad. Like, the weight fluctuated, so what? But I'm still doing the right things, and maybe I won't do that as much next time, you know? But it should be enough for you to kind of push yourself to stop doing and saying, well, damned if I do, damned if I don't, it's over. You know, that's not really where we want to be. And really, your habits are basically your programming. It's basically like you're a robot, right? I don't know if anybody watches Westworld out there. That's season 3 wasn't that great, but I really like season 1.
Listen, I can't get past the first episode. I watched it like 4 times.
And at least watch the first season, okay?
I got to push through the first episode. You're right.
Yeah, but that's your programming. You're almost a character, and you can change that and reprogram yourself with changing your habits and the things that you do. But if you're always quitting, then you're the character that quits. That's the role you play. So by changing that and changing those habits and pushing through, then you're somebody a little bit different, and you can change that. So really looking at your habits and saying, you know, what's going on. And then another way to continue having good momentum is realize there's no finish line. And I think that's something that kind of allows myself to have a different mentality than a lot of, you know, my clients and other people who are kind of getting started. I don't have a finish line in mind. So when it comes to health and fitness, I don't really get too high or too low. You know, I I hope to live a long life, you know? So for me, if I were to gain some weight and maybe change up my habits a little bit, or I have a lot going on, or I don't completely fall off, I still have the things that are consistent, but I might not necessarily be pushing as hard as I was previously, right?
Right.
I don't get super down. You know, I don't look at it as the end of the world. Sometimes I even like laugh at myself, you know, I'm like, oh my goodness. What is this? And then I turn the switch back on, and it's not just saying off and on, but I put my foot on the gas more.
Right.
And then I get back to it. And then my body responds and I'm back to where I want to be, or, say, hey, there's a vacation coming up. Let me put my foot even harder on the gas. Let me add some cardio, or let me do something like this. And then my body responds. And then I say, hey, this is how I look. I'm great. I'm happy. I'm healthy. And then when I get home, I don't feel bad about seeing it kind of go away just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
you just don't want to get too high and too low. And if you have a finish line in mind, that can happen. If you say, oh man, I can't wait to get to this goal weight. And then you get there, then what? You gonna quit?
Yeah.
You gonna stop?
No. That's real though. That's real, because when I first got into this, there was like let's get on the chart was the first goal. And then once we got there, it was like I set a weight goal that I wanted to be. And so now that I see that is a possibility, because there was a point when I was like, this is I'll be doing this for the rest of my life. But now I'm seeing where that's a realistic possibility in the relative near future.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, so what now? And so now I'm thinking of more goals or better goals, or and then just maintaining that weight is as a process all in itself.
Correct. Yeah. And that's what I mean when I say I kind of take my foot off the gas a little bit. I'm just kind of in a maintenance area, and it's fine. I might lift 4 days a week instead of 6 or 7. I might lift 3 days a week or something like that. Or I might do a circuit at home, whatever it may be, but I'm still doing something. I'm still have my the things that I spoke on earlier about the smoothie and the way that I eat. I just may have something different for dinner a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's being consistent and knowing that there's no finish line. So for you, it's not a rush to get to 270, 250 or whatever it is, trying to get there, because then what?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we see sometimes on like these reality shows like Biggest Loser and stuff like that. It's like, oh man, they lost 90 pounds in 8 weeks. Newsflash, you're not supposed to do that. No. You can't do that unless you're in that controlled environment. And then even then, think about the amount of time that you've been in this process, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a person, mentally and emotionally, you can mature and change a lot in 18 months, right?
Yes.
How much mentally and emotionally can you change in 8 weeks?
Very little.
You can somewhat.
Yeah.
But that's not really where it is, right? You're not having that long-term thing. And that's where you see, I don't want to pick on the show too much, but like a Biggest Loser, they're crying, they got the tears and, oh my God, I'm so great. But they have not been put back into the real world yet. They have not learned to deal with new hurdles and all these other things. So who knows who they really are? So it's about understanding that there is no finish line and there's no rush to get there. As long as you're moving forward. It was the tortoise and the hare, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's simple.
Slow and steady wins the race.
All right. Let's talk about some things that make consistency hard. I mean, they are basically the hurdles. What would you say are some things?
Relationships are key. That's the household dynamic of the one person that's trying to be healthy and fit, and the other person who is living life and not really worried about it. That is makes it hard to be consistent. Then you have, like we talked about earlier, work, just random things that come up in life, injuries, health concerns, health issues.
Yeah, I think relationships are a big part of the consistency. I train a lot of couples, and I've seen both perspectives, and people, they also share, maybe I don't train their spouse as well, but just them. And there's a lot of people who just have some type of a pull. There's a push and a pull that goes on with these habits. They're trying to build habits. They're trying to build consistency. They're also trying to maintain a level of happiness and probably consistency within their relationship as well. Maybe not trying to rock the boat too much, but yet they are not hitting their health and fitness goals because both people are not aligned. So really just kind of having your relationships be in the same place. And that could be, parent, child. I mean, it could be a lot of different relationships to where if those things are rocky or if they're not in the right place and you're getting thrown off here or there, it's hard to be consistent. If you got to go back and forth with somebody a lot or whatever it may be, or that person brings negativity towards you, then it's hard. It's hard to be consistent because your day-to-day is not consistent. A lot of people who have consistency within their day-to-day are able to only worry about the goal because everything else is going smoothly per se, versus somebody else who is in just a crazy environment. And, we could tie environment into that, where it could be home, it could be work. And that's one that I want to jump into, but we'll finish with home, where if you're not on the same page, I don't want to say it's impossible, but it's just hard. It's just too hard because it's like you're in the same boat, but rowing in two different directions.
Yeah. Circle, baby.
You might get over there for a little bit, then you're going to be over there for a little bit. And at the end of the day, you guys are going to be in the same spot.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to get on the same page with somebody and row in the right direction. But work is a huge one because at the end of the day, you got to make a living. You got to feed yourself, feed your family. But what I'll say is you can't be a slave to your job. That is a hard thing to say. That's a hard thing for people to hear, probably, because everybody at your job may like you and you may be a valued member of that group, team, company, whatever, but if you die, they're going to replace you and move on.
True story.
So if you kill yourself for the job, there's no honor at the end of it.
Nope.
All the nights that you stay up and you get 3 hours of sleep. And I understand there's a time and place for everything. I understand working hard and pushing yourself in overtime because I believe in that. But there's a time and a place. If you're always doing these things and you're always stressed out to the point where you're losing sleep, you're skipping workouts, you're skipping meals, and you need to reevaluate and say, am I being taken advantage of here? Am I just in the wrong place? Is a wrong fit? Like, why am I not able to unplug? Because you should be able to maintain and have some type of life outside of work.
Right.
And if you want to be, and really, that's the whole point of corporate wellness programs, which a lot of people are building and trying to give their employees. But it's like, you can't be a good employee if you're not a healthy, well-rested person, right?
Right.
So I want you to be the best person you can be so that you can be a better employee. Not let me run you into the ground so that you continue working, but your production drops. So really, really with work, that's something that a lot of people really have to take a look at and say, how can I find the balance? And it seems like you and your wife have found balance. You talked about the sacrifice that you guys made. And then after that, it seems like you're in a good place.
Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head. I didn't think about this before, but the wellness programs at these jobs, take advantage of that. Look into it, take advantage of it. My job offers me 3 hours a week to work out on the clock. Think about that. So I can work out, 3 days a week for an hour at my job, or leave and go to the gym or whatever the case may be. And now that I'm home, just come downstairs and work out in the basement or whatever. And you can work out while you're being paid to do so. So it's, that's a win-win right there. So
yeah. And then also there's a lot of discounts. Sometimes the jobs will pay for, I've had to
membership
come to me. No, well, they've come to me and say, my job will take care of 30% of this or whatever because of how the things are set up. So yeah, look into that. Believe it or not, these jobs do want you to be healthy. But just, keep in mind and say, what's best for me? What's best for my family? And I think a lot of people are realizing that now. it's unfortunate for people who've been laid off and, lost their jobs and things like that. But then at the end of the day, you got to go home to your family, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that has to be your first priority, your relationships with them and all these other things, because that's who's supposed to be in your corner at the end of the day. And you want to be your most healthy self for them. So let's stop blaming our jobs and let's, like I said, look in the mirror and talk about ourselves. Your mind, your inner voice. So your inner voice can keep you from being consistent, meaning that it's negative, meaning that you're not strong from within, you're not strong inside, and your voice is telling you that you can't, or to stop, or that it's not going to work anyway, and all these different phrases and ways of people, they may think. And that's something that there's a lot of exercises and a lot of other things that people can work on. Positive affirmations in the morning, in the mirror. There's a lot of different things you can do, but you got to ask yourself, what does my inner voice say? A lot of people don't know what your inner voice is, but guess what? They can tell because your body language. And then also, it's the inner voice almost kind of sneaks out, and they actually verbalize this thinking, because it becomes their outer voice, and then their outer voice is negative at times, to where somebody is saying, I can't. When you introduce something new to them, or you say, let's go up 5 pounds. I can't. To where you're like, whoa, like, have you tried? Are you not, do you not want to be challenged? Are you not confident? And these are things that somebody's actually saying out their mouth. I don't think so. Probably not. And it's like, man, you got to turn that around. And that's coming from within, and you're actually saying it. So if you can change your inner voice to where now you're actually saying, and a good way of actually doing it is fake it till you make it.
True. Yeah.
And you can, it's hard to say, lie to yourself, but when you actually verbalize things, that's pretty much the truth. And I think there's a quote, and I don't want to mess it up, but it's, whether you say you can or you can't, you're right. So really, for instance, we both got sons. That my son will be 5, yours is 4. My son thinks he could do anything.
Right.
He's been in the gym with me. I got stuff around in the house, a kettlebell or something. He goes, I could pick that up. And then he goes and he's squeezing and he's trying to pick it up. And it's like, he's like, yeah, I can't. But he tried. Before he tried, he said, I can. And I didn't tell him, no, you can't. I might say, oh, that's heavy. So what? Right. He approaches it that way. And that's what a good inner voice should be. Maybe we are all born that way and it changed somehow. Who knows? I don't know if we were born with a poor negative inner voice or not, but we need to take a look and see where does that come from? Because for somebody to take a look at a challenge and to instantly say, I can't, well, then you're right. You can't. There's no way you could beat me in a race. And that's why, I love using these sports analogies. I was an athlete. I love competing, but that's why trash talk works. If I look at you and say something to you and you immediately feel as though you can't, I've improved my chances of winning.
Right.
And you might actually be as equal skill or athleticism.
Right.
But mentally, you don't feel as though you can do it. So for somebody that has a voice, maybe using an outer voice of just saying, almost like an affirmation of I can. And that could help you be able to do some of those things.
No, definitely. You got to be confident. Confidence is a major key to this. Like, be confident in the fact that you can achieve your goals, right? Yeah. And be confident in the fact that you are going to work towards them to the best of your ability. And realize that you are getting stronger. Like you said, even if the scale might not represent it, the scale might show that you have put on some weight or whatever the case may be, but understand that you are getting stronger throughout this process. You're getting stronger inside. Your outside is going to eventually show the progress.
Yeah, but it starts inside. And if you just want to have some type of affirmation or say something verbally to get yourself to believe it, Anybody has ever seen powerlifting? I mean, these people get crazy. They look like they're about to get into the ring for, a WWE intro, the wrestler, and they do their whole song and dance. Somebody does all this just to go deadlift some weight because there is a psychological factor to it. To take it to the voices, you got to stop feeling sorry for yourself. And that's kind of maybe where some of the poor inner voice comes from. And that's a hard thing to say. And everybody has a different mentality. But at the end of the day, there's only, these are the rules of reality. You have to pull yourself up if there's nobody there. And then if there's people there to help you, they're not always going to be there. Nobody's going to hold your hand all the time. So if you feel as though you're, not doing as well, or you're struggling with consistency, and you say, oh, woe is me, X, Y, and Z happened. Oh, my hamstring's a little tight, or my shoulder is this way. I'm just not going to work out at all today. Stop feeling sorry for yourself, because it's only you. When you're working out and you're running or whatever it is, yeah, you may have a trainer, but then you got to work out on your own anyway. If you're going to go do some type of cardio or something, it's just you, and you can't feel sorry for yourself. I take it a little bit further. I'm always the harsh one, but it's like nobody cares. and that's just straight up. Nobody cares.
That's true.
That's a hard pill to swallow for some people. But once you have that mentality, you can ascend and you can do great things without needing approval or hand holding or any of these other things. Because the irony is, once you get yourself going, and you really start having consistency and good momentum, and you're really killing it, guess what? Then that attracts people, and then they start caring and doing all these things, right? Because they see that you're doing well. And it's like, oh, what are you doing? Or high five, right?
Right.
But when you're moping and when you're just in the rut, it's not going to be anybody that's going to come knock on your door and be like, let me save the day. Let me get you going. If you're in a great relationship where your partner or somebody like that can pick you up, that's awesome. And then you should take advantage of that, and you guys should work together where one person pulls the other up. But there's a lot of times, even within that, it's like, it's up to you. You want to go for a walk, the other person doesn't, what's your choice? You want to work out, they don't, what's your choice? Really a thing within.
Your job doesn't care what's going on at home. The report is due on Friday.
Yeah, exactly.
Get it. You got to get it done.
Exactly.
So your fitness doesn't care that all this stuff is going on. Your health doesn't care that all this stuff is going on.
Yeah.
If you don't take the necessary steps to make sure your health is right, you hopefully on Friday you're not getting fired.
Doesn't care that you got fired.
Yeah.
Like that's a crazy way to put it, but it's like you still got to take care of you.
They don't care that your girlfriend's mad at you. She ain't text you back, left you on red. They don't care that your boyfriend, took you out to dinner but left his wallet at home and you struggling. And don't care.
None of that matters because you still got to take care of business.
Yeah, man.
Why do people fail to be consistent? And that comes from lack of motivation, right?
Yeah.
So really, this is something that, I've picked up, whether it's been in management, coaching, sales, different things. There's different types of motivation, and really there's very few that actually work. So a lot of times when people first get started, whether it be with training or in a program, they have some extrinsic factors, whether it be they're motivated by money or praise. Like I've done contests with clients, and it's like, oh yeah, we're going to do this for 8 weeks, or we're going to do this and see, who lowers their body fat percentage, or who can be the most consistent, whatever it may be, right? And I have some people who aren't really consistent, and then they go, oh yeah, well now that we're competing, I'm gonna get really consistent. And in the back of my head, I'm going, no, you're not, because that is something that reward based doesn't really always fuel people. For some people, it can be, especially if the reward is that great. It can fuel people, but for the most part, it can't. So anything extrinsic would be money, praise, awards, recognition. So that would be achievement-based things. So really with that has a kind of has a peak. You can get there, and you see that in sales jobs, because if somebody has a sales job, they'll say, hey, you hit this, you get these you hit this quota or whatever, you're going to get this bonus, you're going to get this recognition, you're going to, whatever it may be, whatever company, right? But then after a while, if you don't like the job, you don't care. Or if you have enough money, you don't really care for the bonus. Or if you tired of traveling, whatever it may be, right? So those things they can only push you so far before it doesn't work anymore. So really what you want is intrinsic. And that comes from within your internal values and the reward of the feeling of saying, I did it, right? I did it.
Yep.
And that's what we talked about previously, to where you are right now, you can pat yourself on the back and say, I'm down over 100 pounds. I'm killing it. And there's nothing that I could have put in front of you to get you to where you are now. Hey, a gift card. Hey, whatever. Everything that you are working towards now is because of things that you wanted to change for yourself, and the things that you talked about, things for family, they all came from within. No big check, clearinghouse check or something that gets you to do that. And to be honest, even the people that win those, they already had it within. It just might have made them push a little bit harder because they're competitive.
Right. No, you're definitely right.
Money doesn't turn you from a lazy bum into Michael Jordan.
Mm-mm.
It just doesn't. It might take you from, you might be Scottie Pippen already, and then you move up to a Michael Jordan mentality. But money's not going to move you. And it doesn't have to be money, but it could be recognition or awards as well. One thing that I would tie in with myself would be intrinsic, would be fear-based, and meaning that the fear of failure, the fear of not being prepared and not being ready for whatever moment it is. That's something that's always motivated me. Kind of visualizing myself at the game while I'm practicing, or what am I going to be doing 3 months from now? Will I be ready? And that is what kind of has always motivated me, like kind of looking into the future and saying, I don't want to be unprepared. I don't want to feel like I wasted my time, or somebody else utilized the same 24 hours that I had and they were way more efficient and now they can kick my butt. That is what kind of gets me going. And it could be something, I don't really compete at anything right now, but it could be as simple as like, oh, I'm going on a trip to a beach. And it's like, all right, I want to look the part. So I'm going to do as much as I can, because I know I'm flying out in 5 weeks, so that I'm going to be ready. And a little bit of that is fear-based. That is an intrinsic part of it for me. It ties in because I still get the reward and the feeling, but I am a person who kind of has that. What about yourself?
My motivation is, I started this process and I want to see it. I want to see it through. I've started processes before and I've came and went and started and stopped. But this is something that I feel a deep desire to do this to the best of my ability. My motivation is my son. My motivation is my wife, and making sure that I am as healthy as I can be for the longest possible time I can have on this earth, so I can be here for them and with them. So that's where that's where I pull my motivation from, so that I can, maintain that level of consistency that I need.
And how can that change?
Yeah.
Once you've reached that mentality, that's not going to change because you're doing it for the right reasons,
Right.
Yeah. And for me, I say that I am a role model for my son. I see the way that he looks at me, to where now it's like, he's not even thinking that there's an option to be unhealthy or unathletic or not have a thirst for knowledge, or, not be respected in his community, whatever it may be that he sees that I have. Jesus says, hey, that's how you're supposed to be, right? and that is what comes from within for me as well. So when you have those motivational factors, if you're listening and you say, well, what are mine? I don't really have any right now. You got to have that conversation with yourself and say, what do I really want? Because if you're trying to fit into a dress or some pants or, that's just not going to last.
Right.
It's just not going to last.
You can always buy bigger pants.
Yeah. And that's what happens.
And that's what happens. Exactly what happens.
Yeah. Or a lot of people, they're not even wearing, everybody's wearing sweatpants and shorts and yoga pants. No more jeans and slacks.
Right.
To wrap that up, it's funny. There's a friend of mine. He puts a phrase out, and he's actually a basketball coach now, and he's always posting this, and he says, "Be 1-0 today." And that's when you have that mentality. Again, you're not looking at a finish line. You're saying, "I'm just going to take care of business today. I'm gonna win today. I'm 1-0 today." And then you wake up and you do it again.
Mm-hmm.
If you can have those short-term goals, you put it together. It's just like some change. You save your change, and you go to Coinstar later, you get $50. So it's about building small stuff. There is one thing I do want to share that can actually help prevent some breaks in consistency, or just get yourself back going again. And I shared this with you, Ernest, and a couple other clients. I just call it a slump buster, to where sometimes our workout may seem kind of daunting or kind of long or whatever. You may be pressed for time. You may be tired, right? You're like, I just can't do 5-6 exercises, 3 sets each, or I can't do this circuit of 4 rounds. And you're telling yourself that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So rather than just not doing it, why don't you just do something? Rather than saying, I can't do this 4-round circuit, just do 1 round. And it's more of a mental thing, because really what people are going to say, well, why would I do 1? That's a waste of time. It's a mental thing, because now you haven't skipped.
Right.
Because now it's easier to turn 1 day into 2 days into 3 days and not working out. But when you do that 1 circuit, the next day you're actually going to be, it's almost like a boomerang effect, because you're going to be craving more. And you're going to say, I want to do more than I did yesterday. That is something that I've utilized, to where sometimes I have a pretty intense program going. And if whatever happens and press for time or something like that, I'll go do a circuit. And I'll just knock out pull-ups, push-ups, goblet squats with a dumbbell or something like that. And I'll get that for 3 times and get a good pump going. And then I get all the same endorphins and hormonal effects of exercise. Then I feel good still.
Mm-hmm.
But when you skip, you've skipped, you feel bad about that. Why not just do something small? And if you can utilize that, to where you're saying, oh, I can't do anything, just bust out some push-ups, do some squats, do some lunges, do some jumping jacks, because that is going to allow you to continue, almost like I think in our minds, we keep a streak going, we keep a tally going.
Mm-hmm.
And when we stop, it makes it that much harder to get back on. But when you haven't quit or you haven't skipped, you're able to continue going. And it's funny with a lot of people, they're not doing home workouts right now, because they say, I don't have enough equipment, I don't have any of these things. And they're saying, well, I'll just wait till the gym opens again. But now they've gone for how long without doing anything? Their body has regressed.
Mm-hmm.
And you can really push yourself with body weight. It doesn't even if you don't have bands or anything, there's so many different ways. So it's so important to just continue working, because there are a lot of other factors than just saying, I can't do what I was doing previously. It's pointless to do it, so I'm going to stop. Yeah. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that. So hopefully that can help anybody listening to really build on consistency and understand that matters the most, because you can have all the knowledge in the world, you can have all the resources. If you only use them sometimes, it's not going to work for you. So you really want to make sure that you can find some way to be consistent and make a commitment to yourself and to whatever program you have, and then allow for yourself to get to those long-term results.
Yes, sir.
All right. That has been another episode of Stronger Inside. We'll see you.
Yeah.